Welcome to the Jobs Report podcast by Schwab, the job search platform that lets you swipe to success. Each episode, hosts Stephanie and Alexander Florio bring you expert insights on career trends, job hunting, and forging your path in the modern world of work. Your career success starts here, so let's dive in.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Jobs Report podcast brought to you by Schwab. Today we have a very special guest. We have Jude here. So hello, Jude, and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No problem. So Jude is the Vice President of Ecosystems at Graphite Ventures, a premier Canadian seed investor dedicated to investing in early stage companies. So thank you again, Jude, for joining. And I know a lot of people really want to get some more feedback and learn a little bit about your career journey and see if this might be a possible career option for them as they get into their careers. So can you kind of tell me a little bit about your career path and how you started?
For sure. And to preface this, a lot of VCs that get into the space have all very different career paths. I don't think there's a stream to get into VC or whatnot. But basically for me, I started my career at the bank. I did roles previously to that, but I would say the pivotal change was the bank. And I was in school at York University doing my econ degree when I started at the bank as a teller, which was called customer service rep. I think it's customer experience or something like that. And spent time there. I wasn't teller for too long. I think it was 6 months. And then I got promoted to financial service rep. And then I did a bunch of different roles in the bank. So I did customer service rep, financial service rep, which was personal banking, and a financial advisor, which is a bit more higher value clients, personal banking. And then got to small business where I started seeing more traditional startups and a few tech startups, but mostly traditional because that was 8 years ago or something like that, or even longer when I first started there 9 years ago or something like that. And then did a lot of startup financing in terms of traditional startups. But then I moved to commercial banking and I was at TD that whole time. And when I moved to commercial banking, I was in the healthcare group and we did a lot of acquisition financing. I did that for 4 years. I had 2 of my kids during that time. And then I moved into RBCX, which is the innovation technology arm of RBC. And I did my commercial banking at RBC. And then from there, I spent some time RBC. I was an AVP they had the banking group and then they split it to early stage banking. And I moved over there as an AVP and later got into a VP role. It's just, I guess, difference of levels. You're basically doing similar things at those stages. And then from there, during my time at RBCX, I was connected and helping out some VCs and had an opportunity to move to Graphite Ventures through someone who was mentoring me at the time, Steve Curry, and made the jump into VC.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's how we got connected, was through RBC. So it's pretty great to see that you're using your connection and meeting new people. And it really does show the power of networking and how you can move around in your career and it takes you to different spots and really lines out your career journey. So obviously you've seen so many companies and a lot of companies coming through, and I'm assuming your typical kind of work day is never really the same. Can you explain a little bit about what your typical work day or work week is even looking like?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not the same. I think everyone does a bit of everything when you're in a VC firm, and I'm primarily responsible for top of funnel activities. So that would be looking for the startups to invest in and seeing if they fit our investment thesis, and then we bring them to the team. But primarily my day would be Mondays are where admin would include one-on-one meetings, I would guess, with founders, and they would pitch and have a bunch of questions that we would go through to see if they're a fit. Because we see, close to 1,000 companies that pitch to us a year that might fit our thesis, and we have to get to a point where it's something that we might be interested in. And a lot of it has to do with what companies we're seeing and, how they kind of compare to others at the same time and what we're seeing and whatnot. So that's something probably spend a lot of my time with. And the other part is you get a bunch of pitch decks or whatnot from a bunch of people and kind of networks and whatnot, and you go through them and see if they're a fit. So that's primarily most of my day. And then, we have side projects we want to do certain things a bit better, increase our efficiency or do whatnot. So I'm working on some side projects, but it's just in flux. It's very hard to say how my day looks like because it's very different every day. It also is around like events. So we would go to a lot of events and we might meet founders there. We might meet people that, are synergistic with us and create relationships and see how we can all work together. It all comes to goodwill and it all comes down to what we can all do for founders. And I think that's where I found success is like it goes down to what can I do to help people out and not think of getting something back in return, and I try to do that through my whole career. And it's worked out for me in terms of career progression, but it's not something that was like the goal of it. And that's what, my day to day is like, how can I add value to the founders we're meeting, even the ones we're not investing in or are too early for us? How can we help them?
I love that. And that kind of leads into my next question, which is what kind of qualities or skills do you think somebody in this type of role needs to have in order to become successful or be successful?
For sure, because I think like when you go look at different funds, you want to look at your team makeup, and maybe you'll have some people that are strong in certain things like the analytical side and some people that are stronger on like the business development side or whatever it is. So I would say find your strengths and try to double down on them, but at the same time build up your weaknesses. When I first started in commercial banking, my due diligence side and like credit side and analyzing a deal was probably on the weaker end. I was stronger on the business development side, but like I spent a lot of time and got a lot of no's, and it wasn't a great experience in terms of like feedback. But I took that feedback and never thought of it critical because everyone's just trying to help me grow, and took that feedback and try to see what worked for me, what didn't work for me, and also learned with like each deal I did and got my analytical capabilities a lot better. And it helped a lot for me, but my business development side was always probably on the higher end. But it's just now I'm a lot better on that side too, so it evens out. But I always have doubled down on that BD networking side.
Yeah. Fantastic, that's great.
And to answer your questions, like I would say figure out what you're good at. Like if you're a person who loves meeting new people and trying to go out to a bunch of events and meet founders or other investors or whatever, and you really like that piece, then maybe focus on displaying that piece when you're working with VCs. But I think you still need to have like some sort of level of like the analytical side, and vice versa. If you have the analytical side, you have to have some sort of that relationship building side too.
Exactly, having a balance of both will make you successful. I love that. And talking about, obviously, the types of jobs that we have on Swab are more your entry level, first part-time type roles. So we're wondering, what was your first job and what skills or what did you actually learn from your first job?
I mean, I had a lot of like random jobs. Like my first job, like real job, probably was a dishwasher job at a company called Paramount. And like I was super grateful because it was like a decent paying job for like, so it wasn't minimum wage or anything, and I got to eat the food at night as well from like the wedding catering and all that stuff, and it was at night on the weekends. I was still in school for like high school, so that was my first job. My first like real full-time job I would say would be the bank. All the other jobs, I worked at Best Buy before, that was like part-time while I was in post-secondary and stuff like that. So yeah.
Fantastic. And working those kind of part-time jobs, was there anything that you took away or were able to take away to help you in your career journey?
Yeah, definitely. Like, when I was like moving my way up in the bank, and there was this time where I was like, wish I just like was in school and did internships and analyst roles, because I think it would have worked out better for me. I saw my friends, like I had this friend that was a teller as well, but he was like in Schulich and graduated and got right into commercial banking right after that. Whereas I had to do all these little steps. And I think it took me like 6 years or 7 years to get into commercial banking. And I always was like, I wish I just jumped right into commercial banking. But now that I look back on it, I'm so grateful of my path, because I think you learn different skill sets with different jobs, and you learn a new skill set with each new job you do. And I think just being grateful for the opportunity and that you're learning, and as soon as you stop learning, that might be an indication of you to either move up in your role or find another opportunity. But all these jobs that you do throughout life, you're learning something, whether it's dealing with customers right at the beginning. Like I was a cashier at Wonderland and Wildwater Kingdom Kingdom and stuff like that. And then I work at a factory, right? And putting General Mills cereals on skits and stuff like that. And, you do all these small things, but I think you just build a certain type of work ethic and also this gratefulness of like, I've done all these roles and I'm seeing progression in my career as I continue forward. It's just making sure you have this long-term vision of where you want to head out to. Because I do a lot of these calls where people ask me, would I move up or RBCX or VC or whatever it is? And it's like, don't try to stay stagnant. Just like when you're learning, make sure you're learning, and then don't keep applying thinking you're going to get in because competition is high. I think you apply, but you keep applying as you move up, right? And sooner or later, you're going to get to your goal.
That's great. Jude, I think you just said it best, so I want to end it there. I think that was super valuable for people to know that sometimes all these part-time jobs or your first few jobs really gives you these skills that you're going to be carrying with you through your career journey. And I love how you've been touched upon customer service, especially working at Wonderland, Wildwater Kingdom, Best Buy. You're interacting with so many different people, and those skills, especially now in your career, you really learn how to work with different types of people and different types of personalities. So I think you said it best. So thank you so much for that. Well, everyone, thank you for listening to our episode today, and stay tuned for more episodes on the Jobs Report podcast.